I believe that the UK economy is on the brink of collapse. I'm going to make a couple of different videos today, just try and keep them all a bit shorter, but I'm going to give some very specifics in there about stuff that I can see happening in my business and the stuff that is affecting it, and why the way the legal system and things are set up now are creating these problems. Just in very general terms, though, we are now the amount of tax the government now collects, the tax rates are now on the outside of the Laffer Curve. The Laffer Curve is a distribution curve of how, as you increase tax rates, you collect more tax until eventually people start avoiding it or stop doing that work. We're clearly on the outside of that now for most of our types of taxes. So they will put them up in the autumn statement, but it won't bring in any more money, or not significantly more money. If you're not sure whether I'm right, just look back at the highest rates of tax in the 1970s. They were 90%. And yet the tax take, the physical money that came in, was more in the early 80s when it was only 40%. So that's clear. This government currently has a borrowing requirement of 150 billion, I think it is now, could be 200 billion per year, which means that's money we both have to go out and borrow, and we have to refinance some of the other money as it becomes due. Obviously, if you can't refinance it, you're in default, you're effectively bankrupt. So that's 150 to 200 billion. The limit on what the International Monetary Fund, what's called the lender of last resort, will lend to an economy the size of the UK is 74 billion pounds. They changed their rules to bail Greece out to help the euro survive, and then they had to take massive losses on them. So they will not be changing their rules for the UK economy, which is probably a good thing because money's still got to be paid back at some point. The good thing about not even just going to the IMF, the threat of going to the IMF, having to talk to them, it forces very uncomfortable decisions to be made by politicians that they possibly couldn't make otherwise about benefits cuts, about laying off lots of the civil service, hopefully. So you don't just need the 74 billion, because that would only be 6 months borrowing requirement. Other things will happen. I believe that the government currently spends about £1 trillion a year. So to get that deficit right down quite quickly, you'd be looking at spending cuts of about 15–18% of total government expenditure, which would simply not be possible. But also because there would be some cuts, and the international bond markets can see that you're making some progress, they would still lend you some money, but it would still be at high rates of interest. The 30-year bond market yields currently, so like on your mortgage, but the mortgage to the government, are well over where they were when Liz Truss was in power and they said that she crashed the economy. And that only went up for a day or so. We're now being months higher than that. We are really, really on the outside. I think our borrowing rate now, I believe, is the highest of all the G8 and the G20, I believe. This is just not sustainable. A reckoning is coming. If you want some good news, hopefully when they fire so many civil servants and so many woke liberals, there'll be lots of employees, lots of people unemployed, so there'll be lots of spare employees, so we won't need as much immigration. However, I would strongly suggest that you don't employ them, because why would you employ the woke liberals that have destroyed our economy?